contract that no one was supposed to see. It was supposed to be a confidential contract, is attached at the back of this lawsuit. Robin Antin wasn't even supposed to show other people. Let's read the secret contract, shall we?
Boy, you know I'm kinda tipsy. I got all the dogs with me. You know how the models get me. We gon' have some fun.
Welcome to BJ Investigates, a show I just created and might never do again. So today's episode, we are gonna get into the nitty-gritty of the Pussycat Dolls lawsuit. And I know what you're thinking. Which one? Exactly. All of them, except that one with Daily Mail. If you want to check that one out, you need to go to Study Break. Now, just for your information, this video is part of a major, monumental, cross-channel collaboration between That Surprise Witness TV, Study Break, Deep Dive Productions, Deep Dive Presents, and Secret Society. We're all doing videos about the Pussycat Dolls because the whole fiasco, the whole saga literally goes all the way back to the 1990s. There's so many twists and turns, so many lawsuits, so we basically all had a different perspective on the whole situation. Now for today's video, for my part, for the BJ Investigates investigation, we are going to be looking into the founder of the Pussycat Dolls, Robin Antin, and quite a few of her legal troubles, we'll say. In addition to that, we're going to take a deep dive into the most recent lawsuit, the one from 2021, where Robin sued Nicole Scherzinger, the lead singer, and then Nicole sued back. We'll get into it. And y'all already know I dug up all the lawsuit paperwork and the contracts that nobody was ever supposed to see. We'll be reading those too. So the Pussycat Dolls, if you didn't already know, is an all-female singing and dancing group with a long and complicated history. If you want all the ins and outs of the long, complicated history, that video is going to be on Deep Dive. The group was founded by choreographer and Hollywood mainstay Robin Lee Antin. I think she's besties with Larry Rudolph, but that's just my conspiracy theory. And since it was founded by a choreographer, it did start out as a dancing group. And the type of dance that they did was burlesque. Y'all know what that is. And at their first shows, it featured them wearing old-fashioned, like pin-up girl type clothes, sort of like Dita Von Teese. So from 1995 to 2001, they had a residency at a place called the Viper Room in Los Angeles. It was a nightclub. Now, during this whole Viper Room time, there wasn't necessarily a recognizable or permanent roster of Pussycat Dolls performances. Sometimes they would basically just serve as like backup dancers for their more esteemed, like famous guest stars. And some of those guest stars, guest vocalists would be people that you have heard of. So after a few special appearances, including an appearance in the Charlie's Angels movie, something about a Pink music video, Playboy feature, the founder, Robin, decided to further capitalize on the group's popularity and their entrance into pop culture by making them into a pop singing group themselves. So instead of being backup dancers for already famous people, they were going to be doing the singing themselves, or so it was told to us. Remember, the group started in 1995. So in 2003, Robin Lee Antin held auditions for what would eventually become the permanent Pussycat Dolls. She wanted to find 3 new performers in addition to the ones that she had chosen from the existing group that were going to turn into the pop group. So after the audition process, there were ultimately 8 total Pussycat Dolls, with the lead singer being a woman by the name of Nicole Scherzinger, and she could sing. So one of the other newly recruited Pussycat Dolls was a young woman by the name of Kaya Jones. Now all that happened in 2003. By the very next year, 2004, Kaya Jones would have quit this group already. The very next year, 2005, 2 more Pussycat Dolls that were recruited to be part of the singing group also quit. In the first 2 years of the group being formed, 3 of those 8 dolls had quit. But that very same year, 2005, the Pussycat Dolls basically became a household name. People had heard of them at that point because many of their songs had made it to the top of the top 40 list. Everybody's heard of the top 40, right? Rick D, did they syndicate Rick D's to you? Rick D's in the weekly top 40, yeah. Rick D. Comment below if you remember Rick D in the weekly top 40. Yeah. So the standout of the Pussycat Dolls group was undoubtedly, unquestionably Nicole, the lead singer, Nicole Scherzinger. Now, today, as we sit here today, Nicole is in a contentious legal battle with Robin Antin, which we will be getting into. I'm on the case. She even stated in interviews that she was actually the only one who was actually doing any of the singing. Well, I didn't say that, she did.
She says that on the Dolls studio albums, almost all of the tracks, including the background vocals, were all her own.
I love those girls, they're like my sisters, but people don't even know the story. They have no idea. I was in center because I was singing. I was the one singing. Oh man, I hope I don't get in trouble for the stuff that I say, because I never really talked about it. But I'll never forget, I finished the album, PCD. And Ron and I brought the girls into the studio, and we played it for them. And it was the first time they'd ever heard the music. Do you understand what I'm saying? We played the album for the Pussycat Dolls. It's the first time they ever heard the songs.
So after they became famous, they became very famous. They shot to fame very, very quickly. But by 2007, the group would only have an occasional one-off performance here and there, so the height of their popularity was pretty short-lived. By 2008, another one of the original members, who happened to be the longest performing member of the Pussycat Dolls, Carmit Bouchard, she quit. So in 2009, the next year, the group went on tour, and they even performed as the opening act for Britney Spears, and this was during the conservatorship, so sort that one out. Since then, that's like 10 years ago. Wait, like 13 years ago. Robin Antin has been trying her very hardest to keep making the Pussycat Dolls happen. There's been all kinds of attempted reboots, attempted reunions, attempted residencies, so forth and so on. But the whole time, whenever Robin was trying to reboot the Pussycat Dolls, she kept keeping Nicole Scherzinger, that main singer, as the sort of central component of the group, and she was trying to basically find other people to basically be the backup for Nicole. It never really worked, and that never really stopped Robin from continuously trying, including like very recently. She just keep trying.
Like 2020, she's still going.
2021. So by October 2017, social media sites had been set up for a Pussycat Dolls reunion, and news sources were reporting that the Pussycat Dolls would be reuniting in a tour which would feature Nicole and a crew of new Pussycat Dolls. But that same month, in a series of widely publicized media appearances, Kaya Jones, one of those original members who had auditioned back in 2003, started coming out and making all kinds of allegations about the group to the media, including that it was a front for a ring. We're gonna have to beep that out. Specifically, Kaya was making allegations and accusations against the group's founder, Robin Antin. She was saying that she was a den mother. Essentially, the allegation was that Robin Antin was basically like a Ghislaine Maxwell type of figure, if you know what I mean. So by October 15th, 2017, which was less than a week after the reunion announcement, the Daily Mail would publish an article with Kaya's allegations, and a few days later, they would post another one. If you want more on the Daily Mail defamation lawsuit and the allegations that Kaya made against Robin and the Pussycat Dolls, then you should check out the study break, because that's not what we're going to be getting into today. I told y'all it's too much to do in one video. But it is worth noting here that according to publicly available court records, Robin seemed to be in a little bit of a precarious financial situation right around the same time that she was trying to pull the group back together in 2017. Just 4 months before the reunion announcement, Robin received a demand letter from American Express demanding that she pay off her credit card balance that was past due in the amount of like $23,000 or something like that. So that was July. July 2017, she receives this demand letter. 4 months later, all of a sudden, the Pussycat Dolls are about to get back together. But at the same exact time, Kaya Jones is calling it a beep ring. I don't know, just a time. You know how we do timelines over here. So all that might seem pretty wild to you, and honestly, it's probably worth video all on its own, which is why we made one on Study Break. But it's about to get even crazier with all these lawsuits, because I don't even know if I should tell y'all my theory. I think I'm gonna tell it to you anyway. I think it might have been a little bit of a financial constraint situation with Robin that was encouraging her or pushing her to try and put the Pussycat Dolls back together because maybe she was trying to make some money. We're going to get into a really weird provision of a contract about private performances. We'll get into it. So, like I mentioned before, there was a lawsuit filed by American Express against Robin for $23,000 in 2017. So Amex originally began trying to get their money back from her in July 2017, but they finally sued her in February of the next year, 2018. So by the time the suit went to court, Robin had paid down some of the balance of the credit card, but she still owed money according to the court documents. And the case does show that the judgment amount was eventually paid in full by August. So they send her a demand letter July 2017 for $23,000. And by August, according to what I can tell from the publicly available documents, so 13 months later, she had paid it off. Okay, cool. Moving that to the side. It did not stop Robin from suing the Daily Mail. Again, we're not getting into all the allegations there. You can check that on the other video. For the timeline purposes of these financial constraints, she didn't have enough money, allegedly, apparently, to pay her Amex bill in $23,000 or whatever, but she had enough money to sue Daily Mail for defamation. And again, it makes me wonder, did she sue them just for the purpose of getting a settlement? Because the interesting part of that whole lawsuit to me is she sued Daily Mail for republishing something that Kaya Jones had said, but she did not sue Kaya Jones. So was the purpose of the lawsuit at all to get a settlement? I don't know. This is just speculation. This is a conspiracy theory. I'm going to tell y'all some more financial troubles and you see what you think by the end of this. So just 3 months after that first American Express lawsuit was paid off, December 2018, Robin gets sued again by another creditor called Fidelity Capital Holdings for a whopping $2,800. So that's kind of weird they sued her for that much, but they did, and it's public record. Now, that particular lawsuit against Robin by Fidelity arose from a $20,000 personal money line of credit that Robin had taken out with a bank called City National Bank. What had happened basically was Robin went in about 2012, took out a personal money line of credit in her own personal name for $20,000 that she could basically take money out against, and she failed, according to court documents, to make the monthly payments around 2018. So 6 years later, she still had an outstanding amount of $2,800, and City National Bank handed over the debt to Fidelity, and Fidelity sued Robin for $2,800 to try and get back the money that she owed them according to these court documents. So on those filings, and we'll include them here, Robin listed her employer as Pussycat Dolls Inc. in the 2012 application. She tried apparently also to avoid service. Hold on, I have a note here. Look at reasonable diligence. Hold on. There's this page in the lawsuit called Declaration of Reasonable Diligence. It says, I declare that I made the following attempts, and it was like one on January 10th, one on January 11th, one on January 14th. I had to go to the guard station so they can call a subject for an okay up to suite. He was told the subject was not in, and they refused access. He waited from 2:55 to 3:18 and no one showed up. That was the 10th. 11th, he comes back. Guard was told subject was not in the office and they refused access. Waited for 25 minutes. Then 4 days later, 3 days later, Jane Doe security guard in lobby, they still refused to let me up to the suite. So he kept trying to deliver the lawsuit and she's like, please no more. So that was that lawsuit on $2,800. And you might be like, why would they even bother suing her for $2,800? Well, it was because that wasn't the only account they were suing her on. She was hard up, it seems. Just as that one was about to get dismissed, because she did eventually pay the $2,800 off, according to what I can tell from these court documents, a month before that one was dismissed, which was February, the same exact institution, the Fidelity whatever on behalf of City National Bank, sued Robin again as president of the Pussycat Dolls. So technically it was like the Pussycat Dolls was getting sued. They listed Robin's name. That one was a little bit more than $2,800. That one was $13,000. And that particular account arose from a business credit account, which that I just told y'all about was the Fidelity for $2,800 against Robin personally. Then after that, right at the same time as that, the same institution sues Robin as the president of the Pussycat Dolls for about $14,000. So if you take those two amounts together, it was like almost $16,000. You see what I'm saying? So that one, this one I'm talking about, the $14,000, that one arose from a business, not a personal line of credit like the one before. And the business account, of course, listed Pussycat Dolls Inc. So Robin signed the original agreement as president and CEO of the Pussycat Dolls, and this case similarly seems to have been dismissed. So my question starts to become, where is she getting the money to pay off $13,000, $23,000, $2,800? If she was so hard up for money that she couldn't afford it, where did she eventually materialize that money from? And I have some theories when we get into the lawsuit, and it seems like so does Nicole Scherzinger. That all happens in 2019. Between 2017 and 2019, it seems like she was having some financial problems. And then by 2020, December 2020, Robin gets sued again for failure to make monthly payments again to another entity. This time, it was a landlord that she owed rent to on a property that she had rented out under Playhouse LA. What is Playhouse LA? It depends who you ask. On the lease, it says that Playhouse LA is a retail establishment, like a place where you sell clothes. On the website of Playhouse LA, it looks like it's a dance studio. And again, Robin is a choreographer, so maybe it's a dance studio, but I don't know why she wouldn't have rented it as a dance studio. Now, this time, it was the biggest, largest amount of money that a creditor or a person she owed money to would sue her for. This time was $30,052. So almost exactly $30,000 on the nose. Now, this is already in addition to the $28,000 American Express balance, to the almost $14,000 on that business account, to the almost $3,000 on the personal line of credit. Now it's $30,000 on this lease. Her response to all these lawsuits is don't make no sense. Like, they just use any and all possible affirmative defense, but they don't actually explain how that affirmative defense applies to them. Like, they'll say, each purported cause of action in the operative complaint fails to state facts sufficient to constitute a cause of action, but they don't do any legal analysis. So it's almost like, was she unable to really afford a legal analysis? Like, she just told the lawyer, just file something, like copy and paste. That's what it kind of looks like. It looks like they settled this. So by February 2021, this lawsuit seems to have been settled outside of court on the lease thing. So now we finally get to 2021, and now we're finally going to get to this lawsuit with Nicole. Again, you want the whole master timeline of how this all played out and happened, you should watch the deep dive. This investigation today is really about the lawsuits that occurred. For all intents and purposes, this lawsuit arises from a contract. It's a contract lawsuit. Now, there's other things included, breach of contract, there's misappropriation of common law and rights of privacy, fiduciary duty fraud, but this is at its heart a contract case. And basically, Robin, the founder of the group, sued Nicole first because she was saying that Nicole was failing to perform on her parts of a contract that she had agreed to perform on. Well, after a few months goes by and a few media stories go by, Nicole ends up suing Robin back and says, you know what? I'm gonna sue you for breach of contract. I'm gonna sue you for fraud. I'm gonna sue you for fiduciary duty because the stuff you saying ain't true. And it does seem like Robin likes to use the same lawyers over and over, because the same lawyer who represented her in that Daily Mail prostitution defamation thing is representing her in this against Nicole. So essentially, in this lawsuit that Robin filed, it says that Nicole had promised to do certain things in connection with the Pussycat Dolls, in connection with this contract. Robin said in paragraph 11, page 3 in her complaint, that during extended negotiations relating to a relaunch of the Pussycat Dolls, she entered into a promissory note dated November 17, 2017. If you remember what was going on in 2017, American Express was suing her for $23,000. So she enters into the agreement with Live Nation. Hello, Larry Rudolph, Lou Taylor, best friends.
That's my best friend.
Under that agreement, the Pussycat Dolls received $600,000 from concert promotion company Live Nation Worldwide, in reliance on them being told that Nicole was going to be in the reunion for the Pussycat Dolls. So 2 years later is whenever Nicole actually finally did agree to appear in the reunion. So like 2 years later, she's finally like, okay, I guess. And she signed this contract that was referred to in the lawsuit as a memorandum of understanding. By April 2021, I think Nicole also might have gotten wind that Robin was in a little bit of a precarious financial situation, and she started pushing her weight around more. But at the same time, I mean, she's the star of the group. There's no Pussycat Dolls without her, period. She could go and be Pussycat Dolls without Robin Antin. Robin Antin cannot have Pussycat Dolls without Nicole Scherzinger. So, I mean, good for her. And she started making other demands. She wanted 75% of the new company that they were going to create for this reunion. She wanted all of the creative control over the dance moves and stuff. And I just can't help but remember when Britney Spears came out and said, I'm allowed to say no to a dance move.
I was on tour in 2018. I was forced to do.
You
chance to see Piece of Me.
Who is it?
My management said if I don't do this tour, I will have to find an attorney, and by contract, my own management could sue me if I didn't follow through with the tour. He handed me a sheet of paper as I got off the stage in Vegas and said I had to sign it. It was very threatening and scary, and with the conservatorship, I couldn't even get my own attorney, so out of fear, I went ahead and I did the tour.
It's gonna be really, really hot up here, I'm warning you. I'm about to pass out, I'm sick. So, I have actually 102 fever right now.
When I came off that tour, a new show in Las Vegas was supposed to take place.
Britney Spears, Domination.
Hi there. I cannot disclose who I am.
The brand new Las Vegas residency, opening February 2019 at Park MGM.
But it was hard because I'd been doing Vegas for 4 years and I needed a break in between.
And what is happening is disturbing, to say the least.
But no, I was told this is the timeline and this is how it's gonna go. I rehearsed 4 to 4 days a week.
Britney was in rehearsals for Domination.
I was basically directing most of the show with my whereabouts. Meaning I taught my dancers my new choreography myself. I take everything I do very seriously. There's tons of video with me at rehearsals. I wasn't good. I was great. I led a room of 16 new dancers in rehearsals. It's funny to hear my manager's side of the story. They all said I wasn't participating in rehearsals, and I never agreed to take my medication. When I said no to one dance move into rehearsals, it was as if I planted a huge bomb somewhere, and I said no. I don't want to do it this way. After that, my management and my dancers and my assistant of the new people that were supposed to do the new show all went into a room, shut the door, and didn't come out for at least 45 minutes. Ma'am, I'm not here to be anyone's slave. I can say no to a dance move.
It doesn't surprise me that Larry Rudolph's bestie is trying to wrangle creative control from the actual creative person here. Not surprised.
Is that my bestie in a tessie?
So now Live Nation, according to this lawsuit, is asking Robin Antin to give them their damn $600,000 back. And based on how she handles her money in publicly available court records, I don't think she probably has that $600,000 no more. If I had to guess. This is the most important part of this whole video, so tune in, pay attention. The contract that no one was supposed to see, it was supposed to be a confidential contract, is attached at the back of this lawsuit. We're gonna go through it in just a second. What we just read was Robin Antin's lawsuit against Nicole, the lead singer, right? Now what we're gonna look at briefly is Nicole's lawsuit against Robin. So she sued her back a few months after. Some important things that I have highlighted here include Robin Antin's self-dealing included extorting $30,000 in fees, which she was actually prohibited contractually from taking from nominal cross-defendant Pussycat Dolls Worldwide, the Pussycat Dolls entity that Antin and Scherzinger co-owned and formed. So what had happened was Nicole and Robin came together and formed a company. That company was going to be the tour company, the reunion company, and they were supposed to share all of the revenues, profits, whatever that company earned. Well, according to Nicole's lawsuit against Robin self-dealt, right? Like she committed a fiduciary duty violation and extorted, this is according to the lawsuit, not me, $30,000 in fees. Does $30,000 ring a bell to anyone? Either it could be the $28,000 Amex bill plus the $2,800 Fidelity, which is the first two lawsuits added together equals about $30,000. Or it could be the $30,000 in rent that she owed on the Playground LA lease. $30,000 just keeps popping up. Nicole said it, not me. But she also goes on to say that Robin also participated in self-dealing, including tens of thousands of dollars that she caused to be paid to her associates, including $175,000 to her manager, who contributed little, if anything, to the whole thing. So basically I don't know. Okay, so according to Nicole, let's talk about the $600,000 to Live Nation real quick. According to Nicole, Robin misrepresented, that means lied, to Live Nation to induce Live Nation to pay her $600,000 in advance, which she took, although Nicole says Robin never showed her a penny of that $600,000. So according to Nicole, Robin went over there to Live Nation, said, oh, Nicole's going to be in the show, she's going to be in the reunion, took $600,000 and never showed Nicole a penny of that money. That's the allegation in the lawsuit. Once Nicole finally decided to do the reunion, she resumed her role as the lead singer and the creative and financial contributor. So according to Nicole Scherzinger, the lead singer, she put in her own money into this reunion. She contributed more than $163,000 of her own money to pay expenses which the money Anton took, diverted, and could have been used to pay other people that have still not been reimbursed. And she says not only was Nicole the only Pussycat Doll member to personally contribute funds, she was also the only one who never received any advances of payment, and everyone else received advances. And then there's a quote in here. I love a good quote in a lawsuit. Nicole said she asked Robin, the owner of the Pussycat Dolls, to contribute money. And here's the quote, page 3. Paragraph 8. When asked to contribute funds to pay urgently due expenses, Robin, who was mired in debt, court documents confirmed, and multiple creditor lawsuits, found those, she responded, quote, I'm not putting up money. What are you guys talking about? I signed up for all of this to make money, not spend it. And this part I found very interesting. I haven't heard a single news source talk about this. Anton agreed to assign ownership of the Pussycat Dolls, trademark, and other intellectual property to Nicole. She never did that, having failed to perform that essential obligation and in desperate need of money. In fall 2021, Robin authorized her business manager to offer to sell Robin's part of the Pussycat Dolls to Nicole. They offered to sell the Pussycat Dolls brand and IP to Nicole because Robin was in such desperate need of money, according to this lawsuit. And Nicole says the message to her was, quote, do you think Nicole would make an offer to buy Robin out of her shares of brand this side of the year? I'm confident I could get her to seriously consider the offer if so. This person said, I'm confident I could get Robin to seriously consider the offer if Nicole would buy her out of the company. It says Nicole was hopeful that she and Robin could reach an agreement that would result in a successful, financially viable tour, and she worked hard to reach an agreement with Robin. And then it says Nicole asked Robin to propose a plan to make the Pussycat Dolls profitable, but Robin was unwilling or unable to provide one. And then in the middle of negotiations, still in desperate financial straits, Robin filed this lawsuit, falsely accusing Nicole of sabotaging the Pussycat Dolls reunion. She falsely accused Nicole of ignoring the interests of the other Pussycat Dolls members and ignoring the fans. The truth was that Anton's mismanagement, that's Robin, and self-dealing had so damaged Pussycat Dolls that a reunion tour on the terms that she was demanding was just not commercially feasible, and it could not be profitable for her. Or Nicole, who had already put money in, over $100,000, or other members. It wouldn't have helped the fans out for them to not, so basically that's Nicole's allegations. So I don't know which one's true, which one's not. That's all neither here nor there. The lawsuit is still ongoing. It hasn't been decided in a court of law, but I wanted to read a couple of weird ass provisions from this contract, and I don't know, I just found it to be a little bit strange. So again, I think I read it in court documents that this contract was not supposed to be available. It was not supposed to be public. It was supposed to be confidential. Like Robin Anton wasn't even supposed to show other people, like Live Nation, for example, that Nicole had signed this. So let's read the secret contract, shall we? Okay, so very first paragraph on the first page. So it's called Pussycat Dolls Memorandum of Understanding, and it's dated February 27, 2019. A few things here and there and everywhere. And then the first paragraph says, the parties acknowledge there was a previous investor in the Pussycat Dolls, PCDG Holdings LLC, the principal of which is Russell Geiser. Collectively, he was the previous investor. And then it says, Pussycat Dolls Inc. and the existing current shareholders agree to be responsible in the event of any claim by the investor, that's Russell Geiser, whoever that is, and indemnify Nicole Scherzinger against any loss in respect to the same. I don't know, I didn't really do any research into this Russell Geiser, but it was interesting for me to know know that he was a previous investor in the Pussycat Dolls. Then there is a 90-day, what I would call a sunset clause in paragraph 4, where it says, in the event that within 90 days of this agreement, so it's like a 3 months, an original Pussycat Dolls reunion tour, if it hasn't been scheduled and booked, all parties will use reasonable efforts to make sure it does happen. But if it's not booked within 90 days, each party has the option to terminate the agreement. They have to give written notice. So for me, that kind of like blows Robin's lawsuit right out of the water, because all kinds of things happened that made it not the case that there was a reunion tour scheduled. So in my opinion, that just automatically makes her lawsuit null and void. But again, I mean, they have to sort that out in court. Then it says on paragraph 5, all parties agree that as of the date of this agreement, which is February 2019, the intended profit participation splits in connection with the tour will be set forth in Schedule A. So there's a schedule on the back that says how much percentage each Pussycat doll will get. And interesting, to say the least, how they had divvied that up. They were going to form a new entity. Nicole was going to own a portion of that new entity. They do mention that Playground LA lease in this lawsuit. Kind of weird. They talk about business management agreements, 5% of gross income, stuff like that. Reminds me of Lou Taylor, minimum paid. Oh, capped. So this one is a maximum of $500,000 a year, and Lou Taylor told Jamie Spears minimum $500,000 a year. Banking accounts will be at Comerica. Maybe that's because it's one of the banks that still will let someone bank there after all the City National Bank fiascos. Okay, so then on page 2, kind of a long paragraph, and this is why I have to read every single word, because it's all legalese, you blink and you miss it. In consideration of the transfer of shares, meaning as her part for receiving a portion of the Pussycat Dolls business, Nicole will be an active partner in the new business in regards to the brand, as well as a member of the original Pussycat Dolls, to include touring and private corporate appearances. Now, I did look up how much, it would cost to get the Pussycat Dolls to appear in a private corporate appearance, and there isn't really a solid number out there. I'm sure it's gone up and down over the years, but I thought it was very interesting that that as a prerequisite for Nicole receiving a portion of the ownership of the new business that was going to be responsible for the touring and all that, she had to appear at private corporate appearances. So it just kind of set off a little bit of a alarm bell in my head that is perhaps a way that they derive a significant portion of the income or revenues from the Pussycat Dolls. I also remembered when I read this part, Britney Spears jumping out of some billionaire's cake in the middle of the conservatorship. Like, is that a private corporate appearance? Probably. But there's more. Parties acknowledge that Nicole may have other professional commitments. And then on the next page, paragraph D and E, they mention these private corporate appearances again. So it says, original Pussycat Dolls will not engage in private appearances for parties for whom Nicole has regularly engaged in private appearances. What? First of all, I don't know how this memorandum of understanding could direct or prohibit behaviors for the other Pussycat Dolls who didn't sign this agreement. Like, putting that to the side from a legal analysis perspective, what the hell? The original Pussycat Dolls will not engage in private appearances for parties that Nicole regularly performs for. And then it says, as per Schedule B. So they list the regulars on a schedule of this secret contract. We'll get to that. The next paragraph here, it says Nicole herself, the lead singer, will not be required to perform original Pussycat Doll private appearances where the fee for the appearance is less than $450,000. So in this contract, it says if somebody is paying less than $450,000 for a performance, they don't get Nicole. Okay, well, that gives me a little bit of an insight into how much they're charging for these private performances. And I don't know that many rich people, but I know enough to have asked. None of them would pay $450,000 for the Pussycat Dolls. Maybe somebody somebody else, but it's just no offense at all whatsoever. And comment below if you disagree. But if you had an extra $450,000 laying around, would you book the Pussycat Dolls, a burlesque group, hint, hint, for your private corporate appearance? And what's all this stuff about nobody can do a private appearance for the people that Nicole is a regular for? What's all that? But wait, there's more. 2 paragraphs down, they have a whole nother section called private performances. Now, this contract discusses private corporate appearances, and private performances. I don't know the difference or if there is one, but I do know how lawyers' brains work. And it's very, very rare, almost never, that they accidentally put things in capital letters as if it is a defined term. It's like very rare, okay? So I don't know if there's a difference between a private appearance and a private performance, but this one's talking about private performances, whereas we have been talking about private appearances. So it says, Nicole shall not use the name Pussycat Dolls in connection with the private performances while being a shareholder. In the event that she does book any private performance on her own, right, outside of the Pussycat Dolls, she's just booking her own private performances. She could do that. This contract allows her to do it, but there are some variables and there are some provisions that she has to take. For example, and this is very weird, and again, I just keep thinking of Britney Spears. The first thing says, no greater ratio of female to male backup singers or dancers than 5-to-1, i.e. 5 males to each female. So it can't be more than 5 males to each female in a private performance. And what are these backup dancers performing? It reminds me of a recent Instagram post by Britney where she said, I never have girls as backup dancers, it's always boys. Up to 3 songs maximum of the Pussycat Dolls. The foregoing parameters do not apply to the private performances for parties listed on Schedule B. Schedule B, I will remind you, are the regulars. Nicole Scherzinger's regulars that the other original Pussycat Dolls are not allowed to perform private appearances for. We're gonna get to Schedule B. I know you're on the edge of your seat. So basically, Provision G is like, Nicole really isn't supposed to be doing private performances as if she is a Pussycat Doll member. She can do them on her own. She can sing up to 3 songs. She can't have more than 5 male co-performers. And if she does do all that, she has to give a percentage of the revenues from that performance to Robin. Okay, so there's other stuff in here, profits, shares, and things like that. But let's just get to Schedule B, shall we? And y'all know I looked these people up, but this video is already way too long. So we're gonna have to do something else some other time if you want to know my research on these people. But this Schedule B, on the private contract nobody was supposed to see, these are the, quote, parties for which Nicole has participated in regular private appearances that the other original Pussycat Doll members are not allowed to do private appearances for. And there's 4 entities or people listed. Number 1, the Glock events, Glock. Number 2, Dmitry Ravdo. He speaks like 6 languages, according to his LinkedIn, which is cool, impressive. Number 3 of the regular private performance dudes is Baron Arts, Max Baron, and George Iglesias. And then number 4 is Nick Ede. So there you have it right there. I mean, only Nicole can do private performances for them, private appearances. The original Pussycat Dolls can't do private appearances. Nicole can continue doing her private appearances for them. What are these private appearances? They cost more than $450,000. How much more than $450,000? What's required? What's this backup dancer gender ratio about? Who knows? But that's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.